Good day, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so today we're going to be continuing Unit 7 right triangles, and we're going to be working on the trig functions. So remember that you have these steps. So the steps are label the HOA, what two sides are going to be labeled, and that helps you choose for SOHCAHTOA. So choose the trig function, SOH, CAH, or TOA. SOHCAHTOA is an acronym to remember. SOH is sine of theta equals over H. Ka is cos of theta equals A over H. And TOA is tan of theta equals O over A. All right. And then how do you figure that out? You put your finger on the 90 degrees, and the one side you're not touching is your H for hypotenuse. You put your finger on a theta, the angle. So theta is the angle. So put your finger on the angle. The one side you're not touching is the O, and the leftover side would be A. And so it could either look like this, or it could look like this, and your paper could be rotated, anything like that. So you need to make sure you have this out on your desk the entire time. That will really help you out. Okay, so we're going to go straight to page 22, and we're going to go ahead and go down to number 5 because that's the harder one. So let's go ahead and go down to number 5. So this is just reading what they're talking about. So all we have to do is take this and make a picture of what they want. All right, so 2 office buildings are 88 feet apart. All right, so let's draw 2 buildings. So we have a building. So we have a tall building and we have a short building. Okay, and then here's the ground. Okay, and the buildings are 88 feet apart. So I'm going to put the number 88. Okay, the height of the taller building is 252. All right, so this building right here is 252. If the angle of depression, okay, so we're going to make a triangle. Now, here's the thing. For angle of depression, so it's going to be going down. So here's the thing. For angle of elevation and depression, here's the awesome thing. It's always going to end up in the bottom corner. So every time they say angle of elevation and angle of depression, it always ends up in the bottom corner. You just throw it in the bottom corner no matter which way you're pointing your triangle. And I can prove that real quick. So if you have an angle of elevation, so we start with the horizontal line, and the angle goes up. So it could be right here, right? And then you complete the triangle, so it's right there. Okay, if you have but what if it's pointing in the other direction? Angle of elevation, once again, horizontal line, and a line that goes up. So look, it ended up in this corner right there. Okay, so right there. Okay, now what if you have an angle of depression? All right, so you have a triangle, and the angle of depression, so it'd be this line and this line, right? So here's the angle, and when you do your alternate interior angles, the Z, it ends up right here. Hey, look at that, when you do a Z. So this angle of depression would end up right there in the same spot of the triangle. And even if you're going in the other direction, so angle of depression, so going down would be right here, and when you do your Z, the alternate interior angles, it still lands right here anyway. So might as well, every time that they say angle of elevation or depression, just throw the angle right there every single time, and you'll be safe. So angle of elevation or depression, you always throw it in this bottom corner every single time, and they said that was 27 degrees. 27. Okay, now find the height of the shorter building. Okay, so find the height of the shorter building. So they want this right here. Okay, in order to know the height of the shorter building, we need to find this right here. So I'm going to call this, so this is the point of what I'm trying to find, and so I'm going to call this y. I have to find this before I can find my x. And I'm calling this y because if you call this x, a lot of people stop right there. But because I called it y, you're like, wait a minute, I'm trying to find x. So if we call this x, a lot of people just stop their work. All right, so let's point this out again. So we are just need to go find y, right? And so if we just focus on this, okay, this is 27 degrees. this is y, and this right here was 88. All right, let's go solve it. All right, so HOA. So you put your finger on the 90 degrees. This is your H. Put your finger on the theta, the angle. This right here, the one side you're not touching is O, and the leftover side is A. Now, what two sides are labeled? O and A. All right, so what trig function you use? When you do SOHCAHTOA, when you do SOHCAHTOA, we have A and O labeled. Which one has A and O? This one right here. So we're going to be doing tan. So tan of theta equals O over A. Okay, plug in what you know. I'm going to zoom in just even more. So tan of theta, which was 27 degrees, equals O, which is Y, over A, which is 88. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is I want you to tell me what trig function you're going to use. I want to just make sure that you are going to pick out the trig function correctly, so that's going to be the check. So first of all, which trig function we're going to use? In this case, tan of y over 88. So it would be C in this case. So when you're doing these problems, and notice that there's an extra step, you're going to take 252 and minus x. So once you find our y in this case, you're going to take that, whatever we get, and we're going to subtract this. So really this is 252 minus whatever we're about to get here. Okay, so I want you to do these for all the problems. So pause right here just to make sure you're getting all the right equations. And once you know that you have all the right equations, then continue. All right, so we have this. So we need practice making sure we get the right, that we're setting everything correct. Okay, so now we're going to just keep going. Okay, so we want to get the y by itself. Now, how do you get rid of the 88? You're going to multiply onto the other side. So 88 tan of 27 is equal to y. All right, so now you're going to plug it into your calculator. Very important that you make sure you're in degrees. If you're in, see how second and degrees are right there? If I actually push this without thinking, it's very easy to change it to radians and not realize it. So it's the same thing on the other calculator. If you, so degrees is right next to here. It's so easy to accidentally push this button, and now I'm in radians, and I'm going to get everything wrong. So you want to make sure every single time the first step that you do is make sure you're in degrees, or you're going to get everything wrong. Okay, so we're going to put this in our calculator. In this calculator, you're just going to type it normal, 88 tan of 27. And then you push enter, and there's our answer. In this calculator, you're going to have to type it in backwards. So it's 27 tan. Then you multiply by 88 times 88 equals. Okay, so you need to make sure you're using your calculator and you're using it correctly. Okay, make sure you're getting the right numbers. So these will be our answers. So we got 44.838233956. Okay, so while you're doing your work, and you use every single decimal while you're doing your work. Okay, we're still working. This is not our answer yet. Okay, so now that we have this, we got this side right here. Excellent. And they wanted the height of the triangle, sorry, the height of the building. So they want this right here. So we're going to take 252, and then we're going to subtract the 44 point whatever. So 252 minus 44 point lots of crap. Okay, so let's put that in the calculator. So 252 minus 44.838233956. And we get this. And now I want my decimal. And they said at the very beginning that we're going to round to nearest tenth. So are we staying at 0.1 or are we going up to 0.2? We're going to 0.2 because the number after it was bigger than 5. So our final answer is 207.2. All right, perfect. So this one, was just a little harder than what you're going to see later. So we just had to do this extra step. All right, and so this is our answer, 207. And does that look like it makes sense? 207.2. Yeah, that looks like it makes sense because it's shorter than the tall building. Awesome. All right, we're going to do 2 more problems on this particular page. So let's go ahead and go to number 1. All right, number 1. So the Washington Monument cast a shadow. Okay, so we have a building and we have a shadow. And now where's the shadow? So every time we're going to have right triangles like this. Okay, now where's the shadow? The shadow is on the ground. So here's the ground, and the shadow is 483 feet. Okay, on the ground. And if the angle of elevation, so that's going to land here, if the angle of elevation from the tip of the shadow, blah, 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 is 49, so 49 degrees goes right here, then how tall is the building? Now, please remember, I'm drawing this picture. So me drawing this picture, this might be bigger than that number because I drew the picture. This is not a legit picture. So this will probably be a bigger number than this one. So do not trust my picture because I'm the one who drew it. All right, so go through the motions. Label H, O, and A. So put your finger on the 90 degrees. The one side you're not touching is H. Put your finger on the theta, that's the angle. The one side you're not touching is O, and the leftover side is A. All right, what trig function can you use? All right, let's see. So we have O and A. So for SOHCAHTOA, in this case, we're going to use O and A, TOA. So tan is going to be used a lot in these particular cases, but it's not always going to happen. So be careful. So tan happens very often, but it's not always. Okay, so tan of theta equals O over A. Tan of 49 equals X over 483. Okay, so, whoops, sorry about that. All right, so how are we going to get X by itself? Oh, we're going to multiply. We have to multiply this. So, so before we start, let's make sure we have the right equation. So 49x over, so right here. So we would pause and just do this. And we're going to just, so pause every single time right about here. As soon as you plug things into the equation, turn it into the check. Because we need to make sure that we have the right equation every single time before you finish these off. All right. So so when you turn it into the computer, you're going to find out, yes, you do have the right equation. All right, let's keep going. So we're going to do 483 tan of 49 is equal to X. Okay, so let's put it into this calculator this time. All right, so when you type this in, you're going to be going backwards. You're going to type this in backwards. So 49 tan, make sure you're in degrees, and now multiply it by 483. So it all depends on your calculator. All right, and so our answer is this big long decimal. So 555 point, and this will be our final answer. So are we staying at 6 or going up to 7? We're staying at 6 because the number after it is just 2. And there's our answer, 555.6. And there's your answer. Okay, and let's do one more on this particular page. Let's go ahead and do number 2. All right, so on number 2, so we're going to start with a right triangle. And by the way, does that make sense that this is 555.6? Yeah, that looks legit. The building should be about a little over 500 feet tall. That makes sense. Now, but look at our picture. It was shorter, but I drew the picture. I had no idea what it was supposed to look like. But it looks legit. Now, if it was 7 million, then you're like, wait a minute, something feels wrong. Or if it was a negative number, now you know something's wrong. Okay, but this does look legit. All right, so on this problem, okay, let's label. All right, so here's the triangle. Here's a right. Okay, a fireman is using 300-foot ladder. Okay, the ladder. The ladder is going to be leaning up against the wall. So here is the ladder right there. That's how you use a ladder. So it's 30 foot long. So 30 foot, reach a window on a building that's 24 feet from the ground. So here is the window, here's the ground, so it's 24 feet up. What is the minimum angle of elevation? So this would be X. All right, so on number 2, label HOA. So put your finger on the 90, the one side you're not touching is H. Put your finger on the theta, that's the angle, the one side you're not touching is O, and the leftover side is A. All right, so now that we have that, okay, so so what two sides are we touching? H, O, or A? We're touching O and H. All right, so for SOHCAHTOA, okay, so we're using H and O, and that would be so. So sine of theta equals O over H. Sine of X equals O, which is 24, over H, which is 30. Okay, so let's pause. Once we have this equation, let's make sure we have the right, that we turn it into the check into the computer and make sure we have the right equation. In this case, it would be A. All right, so turn that in, make sure that you have it right, because why finish it off if you know that you're wrong, right? At least on your homework assignments. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so now we need to solve for x. Now, how do you get x by itself? What's attached to it? The sine. How do you get rid of it? You do inverse of both sides. So x equals sine inverse of 24 over 30. Okay, so in this calculator, we would just type it normal. So we would just, in our calculator, go sine inverse. So we want the yellow in this case. So up here, so we push second, and then you push sine. So now it's a sine inverse. 24 divided by 30 equals. And we get 53.1. And that looks legit for a degree, right? Okay, so that's degrees. So that looks legit. Now, how do you do it on this one? Okay, once again, you have to type it in backwards. So you have to do the 24 over 30 first. Make sure you're in degrees. 24 divided by 30. You have to push equals, or you're going to get the answer wrong. Equals. Okay, so now we have our fraction. Now we're going to do second sine. And there's your answer. And we got the same number. So this calculator is dangerous. This calculator is awesome. So you should pick and choose what you're going to use for the test. Okay, so now, so those are our answers. And does that degree look now if it was like 102 degrees, that's definitely not it, because we need to have, it needs to be close, close to what it's supposed to be, right? Okay, so this makes sense about 53 degrees. Okay, so that was page 22. So you are in charge of 3 and 4, and then you would turn that in. And then you're also in charge of page 23. All right, now let's go to page 24. We're going to do one more problem, guys. And let's go ahead and do the harder one. Let's go ahead and do number 2. Number 2. Okay, so here's the awesome thing. Actually, no, we'll just do number 1. Sorry, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, number 1. Okay, so on this, it's how you set things up, right? Okay, so here goes. From a plane flying east, 265 meters above sea level. Okay, so the plane is up here and it's above sea level. So this right here would be 265 right there. So this is 265. The angles of depression. So basically we know that the angles are going to end up here anyway, are 35 and 25. Now, the 35 is the bigger angle, right? So it's 35 degrees here, and 25 goes here. Okay, so if we separate these two triangles, well, we want to know how far apart they are. So we want to, basically we want the big distance minus the little distance. Now the big distance goes with the smaller degree. So 25, 265. Okay, and so this right here, and let's call that A. And then we have the fatter triangle, which is the bigger number. 265, that's 35, and this is B. Okay, so basically, we're going to be doing the trig functions, right? So H, O, and this is A. What? Boom, boom. And so we're going to do tan. So, because SOHCAHTOA, that would be tan. So tan of theta equals O over A. And this would be tan of 25 equals 265 over, in this case, A. And how do you get that by itself? So it's A equals Because now how do we get, we're going to switch these, right? We want to multiply this on this side and we want to divide this on this side. So we're going to switch. We're going to switch. So 265 over tan of 25. And we're going to get a decimal. So 265 divided by tan of 25. And we would get 568.2943339. Okay, so when you're doing your work, you want every single decimal because we still have work to do. Now, how would you type it in this calculator? Okay, in this calculator, you would do 265 divided by, and you would use parentheses. So divide by parentheses, 25 tan, close parentheses, equals. Or you could just totally separate them. So find the tan of 25, get a decimal, so 265 divided whatever decimal, and you would still get this number. So you do what works for you. Okay. Okay, so we have this number. So this big number right here is 568 point a bunch of stuff. Okay, so now we want to find this distance right here. And so that would be this problem. Okay, so once again, H, O, and A. So tan of theta equals O over A. So tan of 35. So notice that there's the big number, the little number here, and the big number here. That feels a little backwards, right? Equals 265 over B. So B is equal to 265 divided by tan of 35. So notice that these both look the same, just one has the 25 and the other one has the 35. Okay, and when we put that into the calculator, okay, we would get 378.4592218. So 378 point and then a bunch of stuff. Okay, now how do we get this number right here? We're going to subtract these two numbers. So subtract. And what would you get? So when you subtract those two numbers, we're going to type all the digits. All the digits. The more digits you have, the safer you will be. Or because if you don't, you might, so about 25% of the time, you're going to be off by just one digit. So you guys need to be careful. So 568 point, and I'm just writing down every single decimal. Okay, minus 378 point and all the stuff behind it. We get this big long decimal. So our answer, and we can round this. They said to the nearest tenth. So that'd be 189.8. And there's your final answer. Okay. All right, so basic gist. Set up the two triangles and do SOHCAHTOA. So the little angle first and the bigger angle second. And then subtract the two. So do the trig for the little angle, do the trig for the big angle, and then subtract the two numbers, and you're done. Okay, before you move on, let's check this out. I just want to make sure that you put stuff in the right spot. So, so basically, yeah, you just follow the same rules. This is the mirror image of what it should be, because Boston would be up here. So the picture should be like this, where Boston would be up here, Miami be here, New Orleans would be here, and Los Angeles would be here, right? And we have this. So it should look like that, and then these would be the two angles, and they want to know the distance from New Orleans to Los Angeles, so it's X. Right? So it's just the mirror image of what it should be. So if you want, we can totally move this over, or you can just take these letters and put them in the right spot. So whatever you guys want. All right, so it's your job to finish those. Have a great and wonderful day.